Big winter storm is set to move west to east across the United States, bringing heavy snow, more ice, and significant severe weather, and that could be accompanied by some flash flooding rains as well. The polar vortex arrives next week. We're going to break down how cold temperatures will get and the wind chills in this forecast. So if you are new here to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. Follow along with all my detailed, accurate weather breakdowns. I am under 500 subscribers away from 125,000. You can help me get there simply by subscribing. Each and every one of you that have not subscribed to the channel, you can help me get there by subscribing to the channel here today. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, share this video with friends, family, and on social media. Definitely appreciate it. Let's look here at our temperature trends for late week. This is for your Friday, February 14th. By the way, happy Valentine's Day. Notice the coldest of the air here across southwestern Canada, but we are still pretty chilly here too in the central and the eastern U.S. And we look at our low temperatures starting off your Friday morning. Very cold up here into the upper Midwest. Now, while it's not unheard of, we still see sub-zero low temperatures up here and at least the single digits below zero up into North Dakota, north central Minnesota, and much of the Badger State of Wisconsin. Even with a little snowpack in eastern Iowa, northern Illinois, we started below zero. Our wind chills largely were anywhere from 10 to as much as 30 degrees below zero, with the coldest up here in northern North Dakota this morning. Now, as we go into the afternoon, we're going to warm up markedly here. A little bit of return flow back here, so we might actually get into the low 60s this afternoon in western Kansas, the Oklahoma Panhandle, and western Texas here, including the Texas Panhandle, while areas north into North Dakota primarily will be into the single digits above zero. Wind chills up there will remain 10 to 20 degrees below zero this afternoon. How about the western U.S.? We started off pretty cold up there into Montana. While again not unheard of, we are seeing temperatures around 0 degrees this morning with wind chills approaching 15 degrees below zero. We look at the afternoon highs up there in Montana. We're going to be in the teens, maybe some single digits in the higher elevations. Down to the south, another day in the 70s in Phoenix, and all the way over into Albuquerque, we're into the 50s this afternoon. And then looking at the eastern U.S., coldest areas up near the Great Lakes and interior parts of the Northeast where the heavier snowpack resides. That's where temperatures will remain this morning into the single digits and the teens. And our wind chills this morning started off around zero. As we go into the afternoon, we're going to warm up again pretty decently here, especially in the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, into the 20s and 30s. Teens for highs up into interior parts of the Northeast. Northern Maine may struggle to reach 10 degrees Fahrenheit this afternoon. Meanwhile, down in South Central Florida, we're in the 80s this afternoon. So if you want a warm place to go, that is the place to be, the Sunshine State this afternoon. Now, heading into the weekend, we are going to have a big winter storm, as we mentioned, moving west to east across the United States. And bisecting that storm, we're going to see on the back side, we're going to see cold air, and it's going to be much colder than we have seen here so far today. Ahead of the storm, we're going to have lots of warm, moist, unstable air moving up ahead of it, and that's going to bring warmer conditions to the southeast for the weekend. So let's look first at that winter storm as it moves on shore here as we go through today. Notice we are seeing some heavy snows in the Sierra Mountains, flooding rains potentially for parts of central Southern California foothills, but we quickly shut off the taps as we go into the weekend. This is Saturday, February 15th. Now, additional moisture, this is on top of a few inches we've already seen of rainfall. We could be seeing anywhere from 1 to as much as 3 more additional inches of rain down here, including places like Los Angeles and San Diego. Those are areas that have been very dry, especially dating all the way back into late January. Remember all the wildfires we had? Yeah, so this is a pretty prone area for flooding, especially with all the dry ground out there. Now, the snowfall going to continue to fall across the Sierras and parts of the Intermountain West, including the Rockies, the central and southern Rockies. We're going to be seeing here in the Sierras, we're up to 2 feet of additional snow. Then in the Rockies around Salt Lake City, west of Denver, down here into the Flagstaff area, northwest New Mexico, up into eastern Idaho, western Wyoming. Those are kind of the areas where we expect in the higher elevations upwards to a foot, possibly a foot and a half, which would be 18 inches worth of snow going through your Saturday. Now let's look here at the pressure as we go into the weekend, because a low pressure that strengthens is going to cause some problems, right? On the cold side with some snow and ice, on the warm side with flash flooding and also significant severe weather. So here we go, 12Z. This is 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Low pressure down here east of Amarillo around 1,005 millibars. Notice as we go into the afternoon and evening, we can see that low pressure over here into places like Nashville, up into Bowling Green, Kentucky as well at 1,003 millibars. So the lower the number, the stronger the pressure, and we continue to see that strengthen even through the day on Sunday. Sunday morning over here into eastern Ohio as a 992 millibar low, and then by Sunday evening, that moves up into northeastern New York or upstate New York as a 963 or 983 millibar low up there. So very, very strong low pressure system as we go into your weekend, and this is going to cause problems. On the blue, that's snow. The pink, that's freezing rain and or sleet. And then the green, especially the darker green, that's where the heavier rains and the severe weather will be focused. So we move the clock here as we go into Saturday afternoon. Notice snow breaking out from Kansas City, Des Moines to Chicago, Milwaukee, up to La Crosse and Green Bay. Over here as well into the Lansing area, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, up to Marquette and Traverse City. We also have snow breaking out over here in the Northeast, Albany, New York, over here in the Northeast PA. We also have cold air damming too. So the Poconos down there into central portions and eastern portions of Pennsylvania, into western Maryland, into eastern West Virginia, northwestern Virginia. Icing will be a concern as we go into Saturday afternoon. It could be significant. Flash flooding threat along the Ohio River on south toward Arkansas. That'll be a concern. And then severe weather as the cold front moves through. Deformation snow band could give us a surprise few inches of snow in Chicago up to Michigan as we go into your Sunday morning time frame before the storm moves out, and just a wintry mess across the Northeast as we go through the day on Sunday. Here is the severe storm potential for Saturday. This is the day 2 outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. The dark green is an area of a level 1 out of 5 marginal risk of severe weather, and that extends all the way up there into places like Bowling Green, Kentucky, and close to the Lexington, Richmond area, and also as far east as the Western Carolinas and as far west as East Texas, really along and east of the I-35 corridor. The yellow, that is a level 2 out of 5, slight risk of severe weather, scattered severe storms are likely, and then looking at the orange, that is a level 3 out of 5, enhanced risk of severe. That's where numerous severe storms are likely, especially there into far east Texas, north central Louisiana, southeastern and eastern Arkansas, southwestern Tennessee, much of the state of Mississippi, and into west central Alabama. That's where the most significant of severe weather will likely reside there as we go into the day on Saturday. And we look here at the tornado risk. You can see this yellow but also dashed shaded colors here, really in the Arklamis region here. That's where we have the potential for some strong long track tornadoes that could be EF2 or stronger. But anywhere you see a color on the map, green, you can see brown, you can see yellow with those kind of dashed lines. Anywhere in those areas within a 25-mile radius, you have a chance for a tornado as we go through the day there on Saturday. We look at the wind risk, pretty significant, especially in the red. Could be seeing winds over 70 miles per hour. And then we look here at the hail risk. It's not as great because instability this time of year is not as strong for big hail, but we could see some quarter-size, half-dollar-size hailstones, especially the closer you get to the Mississippi River there in the lower Mississippi Valley. So looking at the setup, we have a lot of warm, moist, and unstable air off the Gulf, and it's going to be pumping northward into the Gulf Coast states of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, and even further north from there as well into Arkansas and Tennessee. Anywhere you see in darker green here, those are dew points well into the 50s, if not well into the 60s, and that's going to create a lot of instability, what we call CAPE, convective available potential energy. The higher the value, the stronger the chance for thunderstorms and severe weather, and notice those values in the green and yellow here. That's around 1,500 to 2,500 joules per kilogram, essentially weak to moderate levels of instability or storm energy. And we also have to look at the wind profiles. So the low-level wind shear, what we call the low-level jet, that's in the 850 millibar layer of the atmosphere, just a couple thousand feet up. And notice how it strengthens as we go through the day there on Saturday. Typically, these strengthen the best near sunset and thereafter. And look at that. Look at that across portions of the Dixie Alley there, Mississippi into Alabama around early evening on Saturday, around 80 knots. That is a very strong low-level jet. That is going to create the low-level shear for tornado potential through the day on Saturday. Let's show you what the radar could look like as we go through the day. Flash flooding rains. I want to warn you up there into the bluegrass state of Kentucky. Also, down toward the music city of Nashville, we're also seeing some heavy rain. Memphis, Jackson, Tennessee, back here toward Paducah, Kentucky as well. Flash flooding will be in play. Notice the storms continue to move over the same area. That is of concern. Further to the south into the warm sector, we're going to see some pretty strong thunderstorms developing back into Arkansas, western Tennessee, East Texas, and western portions of Louisiana. Initially, these storms could be scattered, so supercells or semi-discrete supercells will be in play. These are the ones that could produce those strong tornadoes down there into the Arklamis region, and then they'll continue to push eastward. A strongly forced line. It's going to be a powerful cold front that moves through the deep south, and that will force a big squall line from west to east that will produce widespread wind damage, 60, 70 plus miles an hour, hail, and embedded tornadoes within the line, and it will continue all the way through the Atlanta metro, reaching the Atlanta area by Sunday morning, and also places like Chattanooga, Knoxville, Johnston City, Tennessee, and also the western Carolinas like Asheville, North Carolina by Sunday morning. Looking here at the rainfall over the past 2 weeks, especially looking up here into Kentucky, West Virginia, and also parts of northeastern Arkansas, we have seen upwards to 6 to 8 inches of rain just over the past 14 days. That's 2 weeks, and that means in the blue here, we are 3 to as much as 6 or 7 inches ahead of schedule for our moisture. So the ground is saturated up here near the Ohio River and on southward toward the Tennessee Valley, and this is the additional rainfall in those very areas that we're going to see on top of that saturated soil. Anywhere from 3 to 6 inches worth of rainfall in the bullseye here into Kentucky, West Virginia, northwest Tennessee, the boot hill here of Missouri, and northeastern Arkansas. That's where a significant widespread swath of flash flooding will be possible through the weekend. Now we transition to the colder side here. Yes, we are seeing the chance for some ice. I don't think it's going to be a major ice storm, but I definitely think it could cause some problems here, especially near Omaha, down here just north of Kansas City, right along the Iowa-Missouri state line there, central Illinois. So if you know anybody in Peoria or Pekin, Illinois, and then eastward there into north central Indiana, Ohio, and then more of an ice threat there in the northeast with a wintry mess, really from Pennsylvania, the Appalachian chain, all the way up there toward coastal Maine. That's where we could see anywhere from 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of ice, but would not be shocking to see even an isolated 1/4 inch of ice. That not only causes slick travel, but also the power outage threat as well as we go through the weekend. We get a little colder from there. We're all snow. So we could be seeing a few inches of snow up here in La Crosse, Green Bay, Milwaukee, seeing anywhere from around 4 to 8 inches. Rockford, Illinois, about 3 to 5. Chicago, 3 to 5. Des Moines, it looks like about 2 to 4 inches there. Most of the state of Michigan here in the lower peninsula looking at around 6 to 12 inches of snow. Fort Wayne, Indiana, around 2 to 4. Toledo, 1 to 3. It looks like Detroit gets in on a good 4 to 7 inches of snow. And over here into Akron, around an inch. Erie, Pennsylvania, around 2 to 4 inches. And then we switch over here to the northeast. We see some heavier snow, especially upstate New York, much of Vermont, New Hampshire, western and northwestern Massachusetts there, and especially northern Maine. This is where we could be seeing upwards to 1 foot to 1.5 feet of snow. So areas like Caribou, Maine could be seeing up to 18 inches of snow. Up here into the Watertown, New York area, we get a little help off the lake. Wouldn't be shocking to see even 2 feet of snow over here. Concord, New Hampshire, around 6 to 10 inches. Boston, 3 to 6 inches. Hartford, Connecticut, 2 to 4. And then down into New York City, we're looking at around 1 inch of snow from this storm. Now let's look at the stratospheric polar vortex, because this is a big deal here across portions of the nation's midsection. We are seeing a lot of cross-polar flow on the western side of this. And look at the big lobe of the polar vortex over Hudson Bay in Canada. It is right in our backyard early next week, which means the coldest of our air will be early to midweek next week before the polar vortex retreats further to the north. And look at by the early March timeframe, by March 1st, we are warming up here in the lower part of the United States and even into Canada by then. So looking at next week, we got to get through this first. Look at Monday, February 17th. These temperature anomalies are 50 degrees below normal from where we should see them across Montana, the Dakotas. And these are traditionally colder areas. So when you're 50 degrees below normal, you know it is very, very cold. And we just continue to see that drop south toward Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois as we go into Tuesday. Gets more widespread there by Wednesday here. And you can see on Wednesday, look look at the wind chills Wednesday morning, February 19th. We see sub-zero wind chills, possibly as cold as 20 below zero, going all the way south to the Texas Panhandle and North Texas there, folks. 30 below zero wind chills possibly into northern Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri. And then we could see anywhere from 40 to as much as 60 degrees below zero wind chills up there into Montana, the Dakotas, and Minnesota as we go into the early part of next week. Not only just Wednesday, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. Now we go back here and look at that. As we go into the later next week, we start to see that colder air move further to the east, and it kind of moderates a little bit here with areas in the southeast not having a snowpack. And then finally, once we get toward the end here of February, we start to see that mild Pacific air come back here, and that will be rewarding here in the middle of the country after what we are going to go through with this cold air. Again, Wednesday morning, pretty widespread, and this is going to cause a lot of problems out there. So make sure if you have any water pipes that you run them, because they could freeze over. Now let's look here at the potential of a winter storm. Are we going to see any snow as we go into that time frame since it's super cold? Well, not to the north, okay? We got a massive 1042 high pressure up there into the Dakotas as we go into Monday, and it gets even stronger. Look at that 1053 there in Saskatchewan. That's going to force the storm track further south here. Much drier air in the upper Midwest, so you're not seeing much snow. But we could see some snow chances. Oklahoma City to Tulsa, over here to Little Rock, Nashville, over here into St. Louis again, Louisville, over into Cincinnati, Dayton, Ohio, and then as we go further to the east to the Delmarva with an icy mix, maybe even some wintry precipitation into South Carolina. Very possible later next week. And the models, the ensemble models here, this is an average, is showing the snow line, especially in the blue, going all the way down here in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, northwestern Arkansas, moving through the Ohio River Valley, especially the lower Ohio River Valley, then into the Mid-Atlantic. So Washington, D.C., Philly, Baltimore, all the way up to New York City, the I-95 corridor to Boston, Hartford. Yeah, you guys all getting in on the fun with the snow as we go into later next week. Thank you for watching. That was a lot of information. I definitely understand. It was a lot to put this forecast video together, so make sure to help me out and subscribe to the channel. Follow along with all my detailed, accurate weather breakdowns. Again, we are less than 500 subscribers away from 125,000 subscribers on this channel. So if you want to help me get there, make sure to subscribe to the channel below. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, especially if you did find it informative and you did enjoy it. Share this video with friends, family, and on social media. You want to leave a comment down below about the weather, any questions about the wintry precipitation, the severe weather, the cold air, we got you covered on the channel. Make sure to drop a comment or question down below, and we'll get to you after the video. Thank you for watching, everyone, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Valentine's Day out there.